It's Boyd, and I'm riding in the car with my wonderful friend Glenn, and we were going to take a little short ride over to Quilcene where they do the Moon Festival each year, and we've chosen to go back to Seattle. And he's been mentioning, I just learned your first name, Veronica. That's a beautiful name. That's very kind of almost Shakespearean name, international name. And I have really a good feeling. I had a lady friend, Patricia, who is from Italy, and then I've got a friend in Modena, also, that knew her, and I spent some time in Italy. And you're coming to a wonderful place, the state of Washington right now, and we're very close to San Francisco, and we're very close to Vancouver, BC. But some wonderful things are happening in Seattle, Washington, as far as musically and artistically on all levels, whether it's dance or opera or symphony or concerts or whatever it may be. It's really taking place in a very positive way. And Glenn wants to see you, obviously, where the two of you work together and build a relationship and build a, kind of an audience, so to speak, where you create this new audience. And there's a lot of new people out there that are looking for something new, something fresh, and something different, and where it does have international consequences, because Seattle has become quite an international place with the whole world of technology and all of the people. That there's just a lot of success here, and a lot of people really doing well that are in their 20s and 30s and 40s. Not so much the 50s and the 60s and the 70 and the 80-year-old guys, but there's a whole new audience. But same thing, but some of the other people still, enjoy things too. I'm not saying that, not putting the other people out to pasture. The cool thing is with Glenn is he also has quite a few people in the music industry that he knows, and then because of my working with all the bands in England, the bands in LA and San Francisco, the last artist, and I'll give you an example, was Elton John in 1970-71. I met him in England. I was living in London, and I worked with the Moody Blues and with Joe Cocker and with the Beatles and different artists, the Who, Peter Townsend, the Who. I did the original production of Tommy before they did it in New York and before they did it in London. And so there was a lot of people so back to Elton, I met him in a flea market one Saturday afternoon down in Chelsea. And I had a friend there who had a store called Paraphernalia, and her name was Twiggy. And she was this really cute little short girl and thin, and I liked her anyway, and she liked me. And she met me in this place called Nose's Wine Bar. Well, it turned out that one of the waiters in Nose's Wine Bar was dating Elton. And I knew that he was, gay, and there's lots and lots of gay people in Chelsea and Soho and in London and in the music industry and other industries. But so I debuted him. I had a friend in LA, Gerald Princio, and I met the publisher. His writer is Bernie Taupin, Elton John's writer, still is his writer. And obviously Elton John, between 1970 and right now 2015, he's a big deal worldwide, internationally. Now, what's cool about him was when I debuted him, it was at Doug Weston's Troubadour right below Sunset on Santa Monica, and our offices were in the Teardrop building. Gerald Princio, we had an agency called Wellchart Agency. And Dick James, who was a music publisher, I met in London. So I got a meeting with Dick James and Gerald Princio, my boss, and they met and they signed a contract and cut a deal where we were able to bring Elton to the United States and present him for the first time ever in the United States, which is that evening. So I invited Irving Azoff, who was a very famous agent, David Geffen, who was a very famous agent, and every famous person I knew in Hollywood, including some actors and actresses. Ollie McGraw came, Steve McQueen came, different people came that were cool people. And not that there weren't other people that, people that just wanted to see a new artist. So we presented him. It was on a Saturday, and I did a show in the afternoon. This was also invited people; it wasn't open to the public. But all people in the industry. So because that's what Elton wanted, and what Bernie Taupin wanted, and they wanted to be showcased in a certain kind of way, and they were being careful. And then obviously all the lighting had to be right. I bought every candle you could buy in LA, and I had all the candles set up in the environment. All the windows, I had all black cloth put on everything, so it was all dark inside. So my lighting was exquisite. And then I had some Oriental rugs on the stage, and I did it. I did something unique. And so that was afternoon. Well, some families came with their kids in the afternoon. Then the evening crowd was a separate crowd. We took a break for a couple hours, and we got ready for the evening crowd. Within 2 weeks of that showcase and what I'm talking about, Doug Weston, in the letter of agreement I had with him, who was a club owner, he had the opportunity to do this again with Elton, only to the public. In 2 weeks' time, we also had in the agreement, if you don't want to present Elton, we'll buy you out of the contract. In other words, you don't have to present him. And we'll pay you $25,000 cash to not present him. I'm not stupid. I created that in the contract for Jerry. Turned out, Doug Weston was also a gay blade himself, gay. He got pissed off with Elton for some reason or other. Faggots like to fight with one another, just like women and men do. And so he didn't want to present him. He says, "I'd like to have the $25,000." I says, "I'll bring you a check today." I got a hold of Jerry, my boss. I says, "You can't believe this, Jerry. He doesn't want to do the date. He'd rather have the cash." He was kind of having a hard time with his club and had some things happening in his life where people were down on him. So being a club owner is not a pretty picture. So anyway, what was cool, already a concert company called Concerts West, a guy by the name of Jerry Weintraub, who died not too long ago, within the last maybe 90 days to 100 and some days, a friend of mine in Palm Springs. Jerry was a partner with Concerts West, and so they wanted to present him in an arena, which was unheard of. Not a little 3,000 seat theater or 2,000 seat theater, but they wanted to present him in a 6,000 capacity because they thought he was going to be a star, and they wanted to be on the ground floor to make him a star, which they did. So long story short, I made money that by him accepting the 25 and not doing the date. Concerts West laid $25,000 on me, an extra $25,000, when I told them how I got what we got. And then they wound up doing 12 dates across the United States with Elton, and they presented him. So long story short, the music industry is a very, very solid industry. Every year it's solid. Even I heard the word Bootsy Collins in conversation not too long ago, and that you have dealt with him and worked with him a little bit here and there. And there's a lot of artists like Bootsy that are around, whether they're blues artists or rock artists or folk artists or pop artists. And because I dealt with so many different bands, and when you come to visit, I understand you're coming this Saturday, I have a nice brochure to give you and a couple things to give you, which actually talks about chart artists, and obviously Elton's name is there. But the good thing is that the Bootsies of the world and the Sly Stone and Stevie Wonder, and that Stevie Wonder's high-end quality. And then Sly is a basket case. As far as I'm concerned, Bootsy's got he's kind of in and out of the basket. But these kind of people, sometimes you can quietly be drained by them, or somebody in their organization. It's like they kind of, I don't know what it is, but they have a way of psychologically messing with somebody who's really got talent, who's very talented. Even Elton, when I said earlier, when he wanted to do the showcase a certain kind of way, he didn't want anybody draining him. I mean, it was the first time in the United States, and he didn't want whoever they were. He wanted to have his own privacy and create his art, which he did. And then obviously he had all his problems. He went through hell with drugs. There's all kinds of artists that go through hell with drugs, because a lot of the people I'm just talking about, they try to drain you, and they'll supply you with drugs even. So I'm not saying this would happen to you. It's just one has to be careful in who they meet and who they don't meet. I have a wonderful man in San Francisco that I've talked to Glenn about at times. There's a company called Pajama Records, Pajama Music Publishing, Pajama Films, and Pajama Recording Studio. And he's in Oakland, California, in a very, very wonderful area across the bay from San Francisco. And it's a penthouse in a building that he turned into his recording studio. He doesn't live there, it's a business, and he's been operating for close to 25 years. And he's a protege of Quincy Jones. And Quincy Jones is the man that worked with Michael Jackson and worked with quite a few other artists, and has done wonders in the music industry. So he's a composer and arranger, and then has a handful of artists, women and men, who play all kinds of different music. So he also has a good feel for the international society. I consider you, I really look forward to meeting you, because the international thing is happening now. There's a lot of interest in a lot of different countries, whether it's France, whether it's Germany, whether it's Italy, and they're just in, of course, even the Orient. We can throw in the Orient, but I'm not hung up on the Orient. I like the whole idea of the European world, and also in this country, there's a lot of non-profit organizations and foundations that are in schools, colleges, and on and on and on. We have a private music school in Seattle called Cornish, and it is absolutely wonderful, but they appeal to a lot of international people. So the good thing about, back to Jim Gardner, is that maybe at some point, I don't know how long you're staying, you may choose to stay for a while. And if you do choose to stay for a while, I would like very much for you to go to San Francisco and be my guest there, and so I can introduce you to Jim Gardner, and then obviously Glenn's going to be very much part of this. And I think the caliber of music that can be created in the studio, you can probably end up very quietly doing an album in conceivably a short amount of time, like within 20 to 30 days. And then, because he has the music publishing and he has the record company itself, there's a way now through social media and through all of the new technology, which Glenn totally understands and deals with, that now you can stream things and present things in a fresh, brand new way. And so what's fun about the part of the pajama is that one could all of a sudden have some success within 6 months to a year. And so 2016, 2017, and 2018 are very pivotal years right now, because there's a whole bunch of all kinds of new companies being established that are incredibly successful. Beyond Apple and iTunes and all the obvious music channels that are there. there's new people that are getting in the game, and they're looking for an international artist such as yourself, who has a college degree, who can speak different languages, who also, well, to be quite frank, is intelligent. That isn't hung up on some kind of drug, or even some kind of a drug they have to take because they've got bipolar, or they got some disorder, or autism, or whatever it may be. I'm not trying to paint a picture in that direction, but there's a lot of people that have to take some kind of a drug even to live. So, but the cool thing is we're not involved with drugs. And Jim Gardner, Pajama, no drugs at all. Paula, his partner, is quite very religious oriented, and she's in the film end of things. And then there's a world of television. I'm starting to deal with some people because of my past with world chart artists. Some people on television have been getting a hold of me and to create a new type music television show. Well, you, Veronica and Glenn, and what you're building, let's say, this first part of 2016, also you're including, there's still some months left, but they're going to go by quick. We're almost at October. November and December are the holidays, and then it's a brand new year, 2016. So the cool thing is you fit in to also what these folks want to do in LA with television show. I can very well orchestrate both of you and other musicians that you're involved with, and also that I can bring in, friends of mine who are still alive and who are still very creative and are still doing original material. We're talking original here, not copies of people's music. And Glenn is highly original. I've been a believer in Glenn for the last 8 years, let's say, since I met him, and maybe a couple of years before that. But in and around that, I've learned that Glenn is an original artist, and really is an artist. And I don't like being around the copycats or the people that are pretending they're artists, or they're an artist because their brother was an artist, some famous artist, or their wife was a famous artist, or this or that. I have a feeling that there's going to be a significant reason, and thank God that God really is a believer in music, and there's a lot of room for the whole inspirational, the gospel, and even the gospel part. The different kinds of music that comes out of religion is happening now because the world is in such turmoil that they need the music. They need what I'm trying to say in a way. And then thank God we're involved on a religious aspect. We're not doing something just to make some money. We're not in the what do you might call the money game. We still are going to make money because in what we're talking about, there's money to be made. I mean, people still buy tickets. I have also a wonderful artist that a friend who has a management company. I want to bring this up, who manages musical artists and has quite a track record. In fact, he worked with Jerry Weintraub in Concerts West 45 years ago. He has an artist right now.
Listen, Veronica, who his artist is. I know who you're talking about.
Alex.
Alex.
I will have a couple of wonderful, a DVD and a CD and some stuff on Alex, Veronica, that I'd like you to get your opinion of how you feel about him. But
she loves him.
He works with an actual symphony. I mean, we'll go to the Benaroya Hall in Seattle, which is across from the Triple Door, and that's where he performed for an afternoon show and an evening show. And the afternoon show, which is kind of the same concept that I suggested this to Eddie to do it that way, because families could be there in the afternoon, and in the evening a different kind of crowd comes in, and it really went over big. And he's an African American and can speak many languages and can do wonders, just wonders of what he does. And the good part about him, he really knows how to move on stage. He's very, very athletic. And then the other, and so he spiritually gets people going. And the other thing that's good is that Eddie's wants to, there's a bigger picture happening now. He's had to work at all this, and he got the Mormon church behind him. It's not so much that he's selling the Mormon church. It's just that it's a huge audience. The Mormons are huge. And so he's got a built-in audience. And so he's branching out into some other areas. He's going to be on television in a famous show that Eddie's got him involved with. And that's a secret right now, but when you come here on Saturday, between now and Saturday, I'm going to call Eddie and say that a friend of mine, Glenn's already talked to Eddie a couple times. And with Eddie's having to be very careful because things get so twisted with Facebook and so twisted with all these social media companies, where all of a sudden they get things where nobody can believe that this is happening or that's happening. So they're having to be careful. But I'll get it in a way that you'll be able to talk to Alex personally, and he's going to be coming back from Africa in the next week or two, this next month, because of doing a really neat television show that I hopefully will be able to talk to you about. But I have to get Eddie to say yes, you can talk to her about it, and because our conversation with Eddie, it really means it's just Glenn, Veronica, and Boyd's talking about it, not your brother, sister, mother, somewhere else, just private. And it has to be that way, because in that way, as this moves down the block a little bit, and you meet Alex and you meet Eddie, an artist, a musician, no matter whether you're a man or a woman or who you are, you need a manager. If you don't have a manager, a lot of agents who are agents in the music industry, they won't work with you. And a lot of producers won't work with you. There's a lot of people who won't work with you if you don't have a manager. Because most artists cannot manage themselves. They've tried it. There's certain people that, 1 out of a million possibly was able to manage themselves. But it's a whole world in itself. And then he's very connected because of that. So he's done, I've seen him take this man and do just wonders, and then I'm totally flabbergasted by the fact that he's got this television thing happening. We're it's a new television show, and I just have to get the authority to talk about it. But what got my interest is the payoff of the television show is not a small amount of money. And sometimes one needs some money to move one's career ahead, to plan on different things. Let's say one's building a musical to possibly be off Broadway or play in whatever countries or cities. Funding is critical. So a manager and can sometimes provide that money because they know how to borrow money that people who invest in entertainment. So we'll just kind of stop for a little bit here.
We'll discuss that. Anyways, I just wanted you to tell her what you told me about her coming here, and you thought that she wasn't just going to be here for 4 days.
Yeah,
I took it a lot farther than what I thought here. So it's 23 minutes of great stories. So I'm lucky to have this. So we'll talk on Saturday. We'll get everything going. She'll be here with you on Monday, and then we'll be doing fun.
I love you, dear. I look forward to meeting you, and I'm very, very, right now, I have time to spend time with Glenn and you, and want to do that. And
I'm the greatest guy you've ever met.
And it's great weather now. The weather here is spectacular for the month of September and the month of October, and also for San Francisco. And you'll die for San Francisco. You'll probably want to say, oh boy, could I stay here? And anyway, you can stay wherever you want to stay, but please be safe in getting here, and we'll see you soon.